How to prevent a specific program from swapping. Is it possible to prevent a specific program, i.e. Rhythmbox and its dependencies, from ever swapping to disk? I'm asking because I have a problem when a music player hiccups whenever Chromium hogs too much memory. Is there a way to work around this? This isn't a problem in Windows anymore, so presumably there is a way.
I think that the hiccup problem is not necessarily caused by swapping. If a program is playing something, Linux should notice this and not swap it. Programs that don't do much are the first ones that get swapped. You can check if the program is really getting swapped by looking at the RSS/res field from PS or top. RSS is the resident set size, the non-swapped physical memory that a task is using, in kilobytes. I think that your problem is most probably caused by improper CPU and I/O scheduling and a bit of inefficiency of Rhythmbox, which makes it sensitive to high system loads. The CPU priority can be changed with the commands nice and renice. The I/O priority can be changed with the ionis command. Only the super user can use high priorities. You should also know that Linux kernel guys are trying to improve the responsiveness of desktop systems with various low latency patches, so you might consider using them. One of them is a 200 lines patch written by Mike Galbraith, which has impressed even Linus. The alternative to this patch is Lennart Poetring's group's trick, which I think will be the default in Fedora 15. Anyway, without those patches there are two options: start the program with a high priority or change it afterwards. For the first option you could use a wrapper script around Rhythmbox. You will need to run it as root. If you don't want to log in as root just to start this, you can use either su or sudo. As for changing the priority afterwards, if you're too lazy to log in as root to change it, you could try using a cron job that runs every 5 minutes and sets the priority of the Rhythmbox process, but I wouldn't recommend doing this.
There are several ways to do that. You can attempt to try as says to Linux work less with swap, generally. From this URL. Swappiness. This control is used to define how aggressive the kernel will swap memory pages. Higher values will increase aggressiveness, lower values decrease the amount of swap. The default value is 60. Other option is use the Krupp's kernel manager. This is per process specific, but you will have some work to do, answered here, this URL.
Short answer, you can't, and shouldn't. A long time ago executable files honored the sticky bit plus T, which would tell the kernel not to swap, but today it is ignored. If the kernel decides it has to swap, it sure has a valid reason. Linux is very aggressive on memory usage, because RAM that is idle is a wasted resource. If you really don't want to swap, get more RAM, or just #swap off a, not recommended, can turn your system unusable if you already have problems. Shouldn't goes when you are developing some app and don't want it to swap at all. Take a look at this post on Stack Overflow.
This seems to have already been answered here. This URL. Though the consensus is that you probably shouldn't skeptical.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.